Now, this kind of a video that I'm making today on SoFi Q4 numbers does not make sense on a day like this, but I had promised my Discord members and you guys that I will be releasing a detailed Q4 video for SoFi, so here it is. Now, anything that I say in this video at the end of the day is thrown out because of this latest situation that we have going on with Russia and Ukraine and how the market is behaving. So SoFi is set to release Q4 earnings on March 1st after the market close. Now, at any other time, we would be all over the stats, the fundamentals, and all the amazing growth SoFi had in the last quarter. But things have changed in the past few months where last quarter does not matter, but what matters the most is what to expect in the coming months and also what companies are expecting from 2022 overall. So in this video, we'll do a deep dive and look at few numbers, few stats, and also the expectation from SoFi and their amazing team. Let's get started. So let me start this video by sharing a simple sheet where I have broken down the earnings and few numbers, and then we'll talk about the Wall Street expectation and how recent market conditions have changed the perception. And then what are three things I'm paying most attention to. So if you enjoy content like this, then help us reach out to more SoFi investors by clicking on the like button and also subscribe so you don't miss out our live stream of earnings and also the conference call. It'll be fun to see how Anthony Noto steers this call given the recent slowdown in lending and the whole financial sector and the whole market. Okay, so let's start by talking about a few numbers. So on your screen is a very simple sheet. It's my sheet that I created on SoFi earnings for actually all three quarters, for Q4, which is going to be released now. And then I will also share with you the Q3 and Q2 of 2021. Okay, so the mean consensus of the market is that the revenue expectation is about 278.75%. Can enlarge this right here. As you can see, the mean consensus is 278.75. Now the high consensus is 291 and the company guidance is 277. So the consensus is kind of similar to the company guidance that they gave back in November or November 10th of 2021. Now I expect a beat. I expect that the revenue should come close or even higher than the high consensus is what I'm thinking. It should be around, I would say 290, 285 in that range. Now, along with that, their yearly guidance is about 1 billion for 2021. I think they should be able to do 1 billion. And then in 2022, it's 1.4 billion is what they have estimated. We'll see how when they come out, this number has changed or remained the same because that's going to drive the stock price a lot if this number has anything or it has come down. And we'll talk about EPS in 1 second. So the gross profit margin is 33 all across, not important for now for SoFi, especially the stage they are in. Then let's talk about operating income. So operating income is ranging anywhere from negative 133 million to negative 103 million. Now there is a consensus or mean consensus that the operating income will be about 118.60 negative, of course, million. Now I expect the number to be very close to the mean consensus in terms of operating income because they have a lot of expenses that occurred during the Q4 of 2021. So I expect the operating income to be kind of similar to, I would say 118, around 115 to 118 range. Then pre-tax income around 114, the high consensus is negative 105. Again, this does not matter. Now we are getting to the juicy part. So diluted EPS, this is what I'm going to focus on. GAAP, which is negative 0.16. The low consensus is negative 0.15. Now, if you look over here, the diluted EPS, this number will matter the most on what the stock price is going to do. So diluted EPS adjusted is 0.14 is the mean consensus. The low consensus or the low guidance is about 0.18. The high consensus is negative 0.05. They had a huge beat in Q3 and that's why the stock just went through the roof in Q3, but we are going to see what this number comes out to be because this is going to be really key and I'll explain in 1 second. Okay, so after this, let's take a look over here. So this is the Q4 guidance that they gave us in Q3 when they released the Q3 earnings. They were expecting about 282 with a Q4 2021 high expectation and low expectation of 272. And we have seen over here, the consensus right now is about 278.75 mean consensus. So it's going to be higher in between this, but I think they are going to have this beat over here in Q4 that they gave the guidance, which is 282. I'm estimating about 280, 285, around in between that will be the adjusted revenue. Then on top, look, they're raising the 2021 guidance in terms of $1 billion revised, which was fiscal year of 2021, and about 1.012 billion for the high and for the low. I'm estimating that they are going to be doing about $1 billion right here is the annual revenue that's going to come out, depending on what kind of revenue they give us in the Q4. Okay, so now let's pay attention to a few numbers that matters the most for SoFi. We know that member growth is critical along the product growth. So let's take a look at the numbers we had and what should be the realistic expectation in my opinion. So this is the member that they have, or this is the presentation from Q3, and we kind of often forget because we are looking so forward to the Q4, but we forget the Q3. So I had about 2.9 million members, and we have heard Anthony Noto even say in the conference call over 3 million members. So they are saying over 3 million members in many of their advertising posts. So we know that the member growth has reached over 3 million members. Now, by how much? That'll be interesting to see. I'm expecting this number to be about 400,000 new members that's added in Q4 of 2021, especially with the Rivian IPO, especially with the Super Bowl, of course, the advertisement, the money dance, and all those things. So around 400 plus new members that were added for SoFi for Q4. And now, again, this is a prediction, anything can come out, but we could see about 3.3 to 3.4, I would say, million members now as we stand for SoFi. And we will find out when the results come out. For products, this is where I'm really excited to see what they have to offer in the coming year. Because of the bank charter, because of the recent changes, I think that we are going to see a huge increase in terms of the product that they have in the pipeline. Now, this is a massive increase, and we don't expect this kind of increases to continue going. I'm not expecting another 100% increase in the product because there is a ceiling there. So, but I feel that they are going to be doing at least, I would say, 70 to 80% increase in the products because of the new bank charter as they go into 2022. So this was really bullish right here. 108% increase year over year growth in products to 4.3 million products plus 2.2 million year over year. Now, these kind of growth, you don't expect this kind of growth to continue forever for a company which is of course now maturing. They are an early stage growth company, but of course with the members and also with the products, they are in that category where they cannot be giving us 100+% growth in the products year over year. This is not just possible. So with that said, we know that user growth is critical, and especially with the expectation is going to be for the coming year. Let me read out to you what some analysts are expecting. So this is where it gets a little tricky when it comes to analysts. Ahead of SoFi's Q4 results, we are lowering our go-forward adjusted EBITDA estimate to incorporate slightly more conservative GOS margins, which gross margins, mainly in mortgage, and a slower revenue rate in the financial services segment due to some further normalization in user activity. We have seen that they are calling for further normalization. So we know what happened with PayPal with the user growth, and they're also calling for normalization in user growth. We are also adjusting our Q4 net income to more accurately incorporate the impact from the warrant redemption that occurred during the quarter. We continue to anticipate strong member growth from SoFi in Q4, although we expect management to maintain their 30% incremental EBITDA margin target for 2022, which suggests to us that the consensus EBITDA estimate could still be a little high. Moving price target to 17 and reiterate MP rating, which is market performance rating, updated on model P3. So before this particular analyst or this analyst, of course, these are not one of the high-end analysts out there, but they are saying that previous was 18, now they're bringing down to 17. The funny thing is, as the price moves, the analyst price prediction moves along with the market. So this was 4 to 5 days ago, this screenshot. This screenshot was taken just 2 days ago, and over here it's very blurry actually. They actually reduced the price target to about $16 from $17. They reduced the price target by another $1, saying that SoFi right now, because of all the things that's happening in the market, the slowdown in the financial sector, in the fintech, the user growth, they're saying that the 2022 expectations will be less. So this is a chart or a graph that of all three earnings, and this is what's expected right now. So SoFi is expecting about 11.65% or 6-7% implied move when the earnings come out. And last time they had a huge beat on EPS, which was a surprise to the market, and that's why we saw almost, I would say, 11% change in the stock price. And then if you see over here, they had a more debt than anybody thought, and that's why the stock tanked and it went up almost 18% down. So we are expecting about 11.67%, I would say, implied move on the stock price. from the day of the stock. So this was taken like 2 days ago, and at that time stock was about in between $11 or something like that, and that's why you see this range. But now the stock is under $10, and we could see this even go down lower to about $8.5, $9 to about $11 in between that range. That could move. Now, what I would like to do is look at few metrics that matters for the stock price. I'm sure we all want the stock to do good, and we know that stock price moves on the future guidance, but it also looks for few things in the current quarter. So let's take a look. So this is the earnings chart for Q3 of 2021, and this is the earning chart right here for Q2 of 2021. And I'm going to pay your attention to this over here. So the mean consensus was 251. The high consensus was 254 in Q3. They came out and they even beat the high consensus to about 277 million, which was of course a huge beat. But look where they really had a big beat. So if you pay attention over here, their diluted EPS, the low or the mean consensus was negative 0.11, and the low consensus was negative 0.21, and the high consensus was negative 0.04. They actually came and delivered the high consensus in the actual earnings, and that's why we saw the stock just go ballistic in November, seeing that they had an amazing EPS or diluted EPS that they reported. This is a really important number for SoFi to be kind of keeping in consideration because they are a new company. Along with, of course, the member growth and the revenue, this is what analysts would be looking, or Wall Street will be looking to decide which direction to stock take, depending on what the market is doing on 2nd of March or especially on the 1st of March. Given the latest Russia-Ukraine, I'm not sure, nobody can put a hand on that pulse. Okay, so then after that, we had a net debt of about 2.3 billion, net asset of about 4.2 billion, and book value per share was 5.27. Okay, so now let's take a look at Q2. So in Q2, they had a high consensus of about 225 million, and they delivered about 237 million. So they have beaten every time the high consensus, and they came out with the revenue which is higher than the high consensus. And I expect the same. I expect the revenue to come out close to the high or even just beat the high, but around that range. Absolutely, they are going to perform very well in terms of the revenue for Q4, but the diluted EPS will be a different story, because look what happened in Q2. They were expecting again negative 0.04. They came and delivered 0.41, which was of course a huge drop, and that's why the stock moved really crazy. So if you look over here in November, the stock before was 2042. After the earning came out, it was 2297. There was a 12.49% increase in the stock price because on the diluted EPS, the member growth, and the revenue. Then in August of 2021, the stock before was 1746 and stock after was about 1499. It had a drop of about 14% in the stock price because of the revenue, and also the EPS was a huge miss. Even though if you look, pay attention over here, they had a good revenue, right? The high consensus was 225. They delivered 237.22, but again the net income was higher than it was expected because they had that one-time charge where they were expecting negative 22 million and they came out with negative 165 million, and that's why the EPS was all screwed up here, and that's why we saw a huge drop in EPS, and that's why the stock tanked in second quarter. So, and don't forget, in Q4 we had the warrants where they will be redeemed, so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of EPS SoFi gives us in Q4. Now, we have seen time and again that companies have given some very bullish numbers for Q4, but yet the stock has been sold off pretty bad after the earnings because of the future guidance. If SoFi can come close to the high estimate of adjusted EPS of 0.05, I mean, if they come just close to that higher estimate, the stock should rally if the market is having a quiet day. But remember, this rally will be short-lived, so take advantage if you have any short-term options. But if they come out and give us a bad number on EPS or a hint of slowdown in member growth, then we are going to see this stock touch new lows. Bank charter has been a phenomenal catalyst, not for the stock, but for their business. And that will help SoFi make better use of the funds and attract new customers to the platform, especially with the rising interest rate. But it will also hurt the lending division because people will borrow less because of the higher interest rate. So it's like a catch-22. They can offer more to their customers because of the bank charter thing. But again, the lending business is slowing down as per the fintech industry because of the higher interest rate. I'm all in for SoFi and holding my shares strong. And if all forces combine together with earnings, Russia-Ukraine news, Fed interest rate, then in my opinion, coming next few weeks will be a golden opportunity to make your SoFi holding even stronger, if you know what I mean. At this point, can we see a $8 price on SoFi? Sure, we can see $8 price if they miss earnings and have a weaker Q1 2022 outlook. See, the thing is, with the market, there is no bottom. I mean, who would have thought that Tesla will be in 700s? Is it going to be 600, 650? Nobody knows, and it's very much possible with the things are going right now. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if I confused you, then that was not my intention. My intention is to share the news that I see in front of me honestly, truthfully on this channel. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, then please show the support by hitting the like button, subscribe to the channel so we can reach out to more SoFi lovers. And for more one-on-one conversation and also to speak with some very brilliant members, consider joining our Discord and Patreon, links in the description below. As always, a pleasure to share this with you. Until next time, you all have a sparkling day.